Welcome to this week's video where we're going to be talking about content creation for social media. Now, many people click on these kinds of videos in the hope that they're going to find like a hack or a shortcut, things like content templates or AI prompts. And I just want to not waste your time. If that's why you're here, this is not that kind of video. But this video is for people who, when they were searching content creation for social media in YouTube, what they were really looking for were answers to why their content isn't working, what should they be posting, because they want to see results from their content creation. If that's you, it is that kind of video. So stick around. We're going to talk about that now, and make sure that you hang around till the end, because I'm going to be talking about the number one thing that nobody tells you to do before you start creating content. So if you're still with me, amazing. And it means that you understand the value and the necessity of making content for your business. Ideally, if we are making content and we are posting on social media, we want it to actually do something, right? So many of the people that I work with or talk to, I hear the same things over and over again, like, it's so much effort. There's so little return. I never get any leads. Like, I don't know what to post. And they get completely burnt out. And it just doesn't feel worth it because they're not seeing any leads, any conversions. It just feels like a big waste of time. So I don't want that for you. But at the same time, I think it's also a little naive to say that businesses that don't have a lot of track record or big waiting lists or stuff like that can really afford not to be on social media. So let's start off by talking about a very common pattern that lots of people do. You might even be one of them. And that is that you have this awareness that you need to be making content, you need to be on social media for your business, but you really don't know what to post about, what to talk about, how to make it that those posts actually turn into qualified leads, sales, stuff like that. And so you go into like a bit of a panicked frenzy where the urgency and the necessity and the knowing that you should be making videos turns into this like content creation frenzy, right? And of course, if that is you, you'll know how long it takes to make content, how disheartening and soul-destroying it is when that content doesn't turn into anything, and the burnout and the absolute despair and just kind of like throwing in the towel, right? And the truth is that this happens because there's not a lot of thinking that's done beforehand, right? So it's all about the content creation. The focus is on content creation as opposed to evolved content thinking. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because I'm a content strategist. I'm an online business strategist. I help people whose businesses have kind of hit a growth plateau, or they're not seeing sales, they're not generating new leads, they don't understand why. And so I am all about strategy, having some kind of plan in place before you do things, right? So yes, it is important to think about what platform you're going to be on. Yes, things like content calendars are really helpful because it can often take what feels like so overwhelming and puts it into some kind of structure. It also, I think, for many of us feels like, oh, at least someone's just telling us what to do. Like on day 1, post educational content. On day 2, post entertaining content, right? And you can follow that and it still doesn't work, Or we go to AI and we're typing in, create a content plan for me. Those kinds of things absolutely have a place, and I'm all for them, but not before you've done the critical thinking around what it is that you actually want your content to be doing for you. So in this video right now, we are going to talk about, well, what is that? Okay, so the first thing I would say is that if you are in this hamster wheel and you've just been creating content and content and content, you're not seeing results, you want to throw in the towel, or you're feeling absolutely like torn between needing to grow your business, get new clients, wanting to leave social media, but then not knowing how the hell you are going to find clients, that whole dilemma. What I want you to do is just take a breath, okay? Stop. Just stop the frenzy, okay? And I know that can be scary because if you're not creating content, you can feel like the algorithm is going to punish you, and then all of a sudden your content's not going to show up anywhere. I get it. But the truth is, without thinking and knowing exactly what it is that you want to do, you're never going to get off that hamster wheel. So just stop, just take a pause, take a breath, and let's think through some critical things that need to be in place before you start creating content.
Yeah!
The first thing I think you need to think about is your audience. Now, oh my gosh, please don't roll your eyes if you're like, oh, I'm so sick of talking about my audience and my niche and pain points and all of that nonsense, or not nonsense, all that stuff that everybody's talking about. The truth is we all fall into the trap of thinking we know who our audience is, we know what their pain points are, and we don't often revisit that. Now, if you're going to think about your audience as a group of people that you want to get in front of, saying something like my audience is hairdressers is so broad. Like what hairdressers? Hairdressers that want to become salon owners, hairdressers that are in their first year of graduating, in their first year of actual practical work, hairdressers that only want to work with blondes, hairdressers that are really good with shortcuts, hairdressers that are really good with upstyles. Like what kind of hairdresser? Okay. So the first thing is to just do a bit of work around thinking about your audience or your niche as a group of people. And then within that group of people, you're going to have subsets of people. Okay. So to give you another example, a client I worked with, she teaches yoga in the fertility space. And initially she said to me, like, my niche is women who are trying to fall pregnant and haven't had success naturally. Okay. That already narrows it down. Good. It's a good start. But when we then started thinking through it a bit more, we realized, but there are a whole lot of people that could fall into that category. Women who have been trying to fall pregnant naturally but haven't managed, and they're only in their first year of trying. Women who have been at it for longer than a year and have just started a process of assisted conception. Women who have been in the process of assisted conception have already done things like timed cycles and are now at IVF. Women who have been in this for longer than 5 years, nothing's worked, and they are absolutely at a they don't know what to do. And then obviously the final point, which is where these women would want to be, which is pregnant. Okay. So the first thing is to understand that, yes, you may have an idea of your audience or your niche as like one group of people, but not everybody is the same person. They're not all Jane, 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 Jane. Okay. You're going to have different subsets of people. Now, why is this important when it comes to creating content? Because your prospect, your lead, the person on the other end of the phone is going to be in a whole lot of stages in the process of what it is that you can help them with. And when your content starts to become very focused and specific, speaking to a particular subset in your audience, that's when people feel like you are describing them as opposed to like a vague, big group of people, and like a whole lot of people could fall into that category. Okay. So I want you to rethink how you've been thinking about your audience. Can you identify subsets in your audience? Okay. The next thing is, what are their problems? Okay. Problems or desires. What are they struggling with, or what do they want? And again, the trap so many of us fall into is that initially when we're creating content, we try and describe these things, but we're coming at it as the person, the expert, the professional, the person with all this knowledge and experience, and we completely lose sight of how the person in the scenario would be describing it. And so often, even though you think you are describing things so clearly, the person on the other end of that phone scrolling away, your message doesn't land with them because it's not how they would describe it. So The first thing you're going to do is think about your audience and its subsets. Then you're going to think about the problems or desires they have. And you're going to write down how you would describe it and how they would describe it, okay? Because often in our content, it's like you're telling people the solution. You are 20 steps ahead of them. And so what you're talking about is not landing with them. They don't think that's what they need. So if they thinking content is the problem versus me knowing that it's actually strategy, if I'm talking about strategy and strategy and strategy all the time, they're going to be like, yeah, but that's not my problem. My problem is content. Okay. And that's a skill. It really is a skill, learning how to tap into the mind of your viewer, your ideal follower, your ideal subscriber, and describe things the way they would describe them. How do you mirror back to them their internal dialogue, their experiences, and then deliver in your content the goal that they don't know? All right. And then lastly, what we would want to think about is, given now what we know about our audience and the problems or desires they have, do our offers make sense? Okay. Because if you've decided long ago and you've never revisited what your signature course is called or what you're teaching, and you then realize, actually, this isn't the way my person would be describing things. It isn't actually the problem that they think is the most pressing. No wonder you can't sell your offer. So content creation, before we even begin, we have to get clear. And I mean, really clear, like a deep dive. More than just those 10-minute niche exercises and avatar exercises, really give some time to thinking about our audience, the subsets that exist in our audience. Remember, different offers are going to speak to different subsets, right? So audience, problems, how we describe it as the person who knows a lot, probably 10 steps ahead, versus how they describing things, and then looking at whether or not the offers, the lead magnets, the freebies we're putting together, do they make sense given what we're trying to describe in our content? Okay, that is the first thing, guys. Okay, once we've got an idea of the people we want to get in front of, all the kinds of people that could make up that group, how they are describing things, how they are experiencing things, and whether or not the thing we can do really well makes sense, then we would think about, where are we going to find these people? And again, even though I know this video is about content creation for social media, I think really what people are wondering is, how do I make content that will translate into leads or sales in my business? And so one option is to think about all the social media platforms, right? But it's not the be all and end all. Content creation, can be an email that you're writing. It can be a YouTube video that you're creating. It's really like, where am I going to create content to attract these people to me so that they see me as the person that can help them and they actually want to pay me to do that? And so things like social media platforms, SEO-based platforms and / activities, YouTube, Google, Pinterest, blogging, your website, all that SEO stuff. Things like collaborations. So that's another way to grow your audience, get in front of people. There are a whole lot of things you can do when it comes to where you should be creating content so that you're getting in front of the right people. And again, I think sometimes we just gravitate to platforms that we are familiar with because we don't like not knowing how to use something. And so even if your instinct is like, I've been on Instagram for 2 years, I've never had a lead or a sale from it. Like, my engagement's non-existent. My follower count is like stuck in cement. No matter what I do, nothing's working. Well, then maybe it's not the right platform, right? So we've got to evaluate evidence about whether or not the content and the platform is right and working. So a couple things, guys, as we wrap up. I want you to really challenge yourself to move beyond thinking about basic content creation. And I want you to become more of an evolved content thinker. Okay. It's not about the content, the content, the content. You can go get 1,000,000 content plans from people. If you don't know anything about your audience, how they describe things and your offers, and how your content is the glue, it connects those things. It connects all these pieces of your business. It's through your content. But it's not the content you must be focusing on, right? Not initially. So I've got a couple things that can help you. Firstly, if you're curious about all the ways in which you can grow your audience, get in front of people, I've put together like a one-pager that kind of outlines all the platforms, all the ways you can explore getting in front of your people, right? And it's called the Get Seen Game Plan, right? So you can grab that. You are welcome. I'll link it in the description. The next thing I want you to do is please leave a comment. Tell me, what is your biggest content struggle at the moment? And I will make a follow-up video that addresses the top 3, because I'm sure we're going to see recurring themes, okay? And lastly, which I really hope, and if you've stuck around till this point, you are like, oh, finally, I found a video that's helping me think through this, and you want more of that. Please, I'm going to again link it in the description. Go check out. I've got a really short course that just introduces this way of thinking about your business and about your content. It's called the Content Connection, because I believe content is the glue that pulls all the pieces of your business together. It's not expensive. It's really worth it. I'll link it for you, but you can 100% go and check that out if you'd like to get started on a more strategic approach to content creation. If you haven't done so already, please, can I ask you to like and subscribe to our channel? We are new here, we are growing, we're trying to grow, and every single like and subscribe helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you do leave your comment below.